welcome to today's edition of the Locker Room on Voice of the People TV. I am Jerry Alpeliohai, and we've got an absolute thriller of a show for you, and it promises to be exciting. Joining me are the usual suspects, Ikechukwu and Mayowa, two heavyweights ready to break down all the action and drop some serious hot takes on everything happening in the football world. So stay locked in. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment. And hey, we want to hear from you too. Call us on the WhatsApp number on your screen and join the conversation live. You see Charity Biggest and Tomi Ikechukwu. Another beautiful edition of Locker Room today. It's great to have you.
Good evening, Jerry, and good evening to our viewers. It's a very wonderful day to be here in Locker Room. I know a lot of Chelsea fans will be so happy. They made it through to the final. As predicted yesterday, I said it. Chelsea is going to actually get over that from the side, and they did it in style. Kudos to João Pedro. What a way to actually start, to open your account for your new team. It was a very interesting game for them. Now they hope to actually play against Real Madrid or Paris Saint-Germain in the final. It's going to be a cracker of a game. And of course, I said it again that this is one of those tournaments where Chelsea just find their way to the final, and then at the end of the day, they just sneak it. A lot of persons have been saying Madrid, yes, they know how to actually get any championship if they get to the final. Again, my money is still going to be on Chelsea to actually bring this particular trophy home. It's so good to be here again today, Jerry.
All right, so good to be here again. While we expect Mayowa to join us, I think he's still looking for a bit of a new transfer announcement for Fabrizio, but unfortunately, the last time I checked, Manchester United are still on the Evans signing a contract to be a part of the admin. That's the last we heard of Manchester United. I don't know. Are they going to wait till the preseason is over before they make any transfer? I think I'll leave that to Mayowa to tell us, because it seems like the last time Ikechukwu had a touch was they said, who are they signing? Is it Goyokores or who? Which speculation? I didn't know. Anyway. Anyway, okay, they want to sign Iwobi players. Okay, that's how you become an Iwobi fan. So that the players prove it easy for you to
I don't know what you're talking about. I've just told them I'm an Iwobi fan.
Well, it is what it is. Let's hit the ground running. A Super Eagles player has criticized the former coach Jose Peseiro's tactics at the 2023 African Cup of Nations, saying they hindered the team's attacking players. The player noted that Peseiro's approach was overly defensive, often instructing players to retreat even when attacking. This approach was evident in the final against Cote d'Ivoire, where Nigeria took the lead but ultimately lost 2-1 after conceding 2 late goals. And the player contrasted Peseiro's tactics with those of current coach Eric Chell, saying that Chell encourages the team to attack and push up the pitch. The difference in approach is like night and day, according to the player. Under Peseiro, the team was often told to limit their attacks even when leading. The player's comments suggest that Peseiro's defensive mindset may have cost Nigeria the Afcon title. And despite reaching the final, the team's inability to kill off opponents and their tendency to retreat when leading ultimately proved costly. And the player's criticism of Peseiro's tactics provides insight into the team's mindset and approach under the former coach. I think looking at it, yeah, every player wants to play differently. Depends on their strengths. As a defender, you will not have too much problems in making sure that you defend well and make sure that you hold on to your victories. But as an attacker, you want your team to attack more. It's normal. And when he's saying that he didn't like his pattern because it's more or less defensive, always want to consolidate on maybe 1-0 win on some, make sure every coach has their pattern. Let's not forget, I can't remember the coach now, the Greek coach for the Greece team in 2004 Euros.
Okay.
Greece was the unknown side. But you saw how they consolidate on when they win by a goal to nil, they defend very well and make sure that they went on to the final and won the championship. Jose Mourinho, for instance, you don't expect his team to attack you mostly. Most especially when he knows that you don't have the team to attack. You get. So, but in the long run, yeah, it's wanting to criticize him. I think that's one of the reasons why the players still want Peseiro to hold on to the job. And I think the NFF got the message and decided to let him go, in spite of all of us outside saying that Peseiro took you to the final. Why dislodge him when you didn't have a plan of getting another coach?
Okay, Jerry. So yes, that might be a very big question to ask. Why dislodge Peseiro when you don't even have a man that's going to take over the job in the next 1 month, right? But the big question,
is it 1 month, even almost 11 months?
No, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Why dislodge him when you don't have a manager waiting at least max next 1 month to actually take over the job? But then we are discussing Peseiro. See, Jerry, I've been watching Super Eagles for quite a while, and I can tell you for free, I've never seen Nigeria play as bad as we did under Peseiro. Yes, we got to the final. From our first game against Equatorial Guinea, right? The Equatorial Guinea side actually dominated us. Nigerians were, the Super Eagles players were busy chasing ball on the field. It was so painful to watch, right? Now, don't forget, going into that championship, we had arguably our team was arguably the most valuable team in terms of where they actually play and in terms of their value in transfer market in the world, in Africa at that point, right? Now you cannot take that team to a tournament, a team that is known to actually play free flow football, a team that is all naturally known to actually play attack-minded football, and then you take that team to the tournament, and then you expect that team to actually become automatically defensive against an Equatorial Guinea side that you can barely place on the football map. Now this is exactly where the problem started. Yes, it took us to the final, but trust me, going to the final was largely to the strength of the players. Now let's talk about Jose Mourinho and the Greek team that actually won the Euro 2004. Greek in that particular championship were clearly the underdog. In fact, you cannot even call them the dark horse of that tournament until perhaps in the semi-finals. All through their tournament, they never dominated anything. They get a goal and they seal it. Their first match against Portugal missed a lot of chances, and their goalkeeper was so good in that particular tournament. He saved a lot of balls. And the repeats happened again in the final. Remember, their first game was against Portugal. Portugal hosted that tournament. Their last game also was against Portugal. Portugal lost both legs 1-0. Now, you cannot compare a team that is clearly the underdog in the tournament that came into the tournament with the mindset of let's get one and then defend, and a team that has the biggest stars in that particular tournament that went into the tournament and became a defensive side. Remember, that's one of the reasons why that game against South Africa was so tense, because South Africa placed Nigeria on the back foot all through that game. It was just due to individual brilliance that we were able to actually close up that game onto penalty shootout, and of course we won that game. This is not the way Nigeria is known to play. It's not that we have to win all the games. No. Yes, we've lost games and we'll continue to lose games. The biggest of teams will lose games. Cameroon, Senegal defeated defending champion in 2002 World Cup, France. You can lose games. It doesn't mean that you have to actually play badly because you must win. That's exactly what I'm saying. And that's why a lot of persons were critical about Peseiro's style of play. Nigeria is not known to play like that. Again, every team has its identity. Liverpool, for example, if Liverpool turn up like Chelsea, Liverpool fans will be worried. Every team has the way they come out and play the game. So when your team started playing in a way you're not used to, it kills the idea and the fun that they're used to. Now, over the years, when Jose Mourinho took over the Chelsea job, Chelsea fans settled with the mentality of, let's get one goal and relax. That's exactly how Chelsea has been playing. And they're so comfortable, so they really don't mind. Now it's going to take a while for Chelsea to come all out under Maresca to now start dominating team, perhaps change their style. But then they are so used to that particular style of play, and that's Jose Mourinho's style. And this is one of the reasons why I faulted the NFF for hiring Peseiro at first, because every proper football management body understands that before you go for a coach, you look at your project and look at the kind of coach that suits your project. Aaron Slot came into Liverpool and fits in perfectly because he's similar to Jurgen Klopp. The high pressing, the style Liverpool likes to play, it was easy for the players to really adapt. You don't bring in a player who is defensive minded and expect Liverpool players to start defending. They are not built for such games.
What do you expect when the NFF went to meet Jose Mourinho to recommend the coach? He's going to recommend the coach who is like for like.
That's why that's what I'm saying. That's exactly why I'm faulting them. Look at the Chelsea team under Mourinho. There's a Michael Essien, there's a Mikel Ballack, there's a John Obi Mikel, there's also Claudio Makalele. These guys are natural ball winners. Even Frank Lampard, can also play as a number 4 and as a number 10. So you cannot look at that team and say defensive playing defensive football and winning balls in the middle of the park is going to be a problem. But you don't look at a team like that FC Barcelona under Pep Guardiola and expect them to be defensive. They are not built like that. The Super Eagles team is also not built like that.
Okay, let's take the words of Maiwa. Maiwa is now with us. I know he has been looking for all the transfers he can talk about for Man United, but it's not happening. I know the last time we had the transfer for Man United was Evans. I know you are still trying to refresh that story, but it's now stale. Let's now come back to what's happening here. But let's talk about the Super Eagles, your Peseiro situation. The players have come back to refresh their mind on how he killed the attack of the team. He wanted the team to always defend whenever they're leading, and he ultimately cost the team according to the players. What do you think about the Josep Peseiro's tactics up to when he took the team to the final?
Well, I mean, the tactics was very poor. I remember I got into it with, I think, VOP's correspondent at the competition where we got into it on locker room. And I said, there is no way we are going to win the Nations Cup with this kind of tactics. We had to, he killed the creativity of the midfield. In Sway, who plays as a defender for Guinea-Bissau, and decides to play as a forward for Guinea-Bissau in that particular tournament, won the highest goal scorer, whereas Osimhen scored only 1 goal. He practically killed the creativity of that particular team. And that is the reason why, Osimhen struggled in that particular competition. A whole lot of players were committed to defending rather than attacking. And the thing is this, we know how Nigeria used to set up. We know how we used to play. If it were to be a Guinea-Bissau, that is, playing that way, nobody will see anything. But it's a Nigeria for everything. It's just like, remember the 2002 World Cup? Yes, Senegal beat France. However, the way Senegal played, everybody will expect them to play that way because, France dominated that particular game, but Senegal won. They won by, they took the opportunity, and France could not take theirs. And that was how they won that particular game. In the case of Nigeria, we are not, we are not a small team. We are a big contender. We have a pattern of playing. Yet against a Guinea-Bissau, we are busy, we are busy defending. Throughout that particular competition, we struggled in most games. We are practically defending, and which does not, which speaks against what we used to know about the Super Eagles. So definitely, Ikechi is something that's very, very important. If before you bring in any coach, you look at the project you have, you look at the team you have, you look at the coach that suits that particular team. Even though if the coach is going to tweak 1 or 2 things, you will not completely go, 360 and go and bring another defensive coach. We are just lucky that we're able to get to the final. And as far as I'm concerned, in as much as the NFF dropped the ball, if you know you will not hire a coach for another 11 months, you should have retained Peseiro, who has started the World Cup qualification process, and probably look for a replacement. I think the best option was to let him go because his own pattern of play does not align with our players, and it was practically showing, and our players were not performing very well. How do we explain, an African footballer of the year goes to a Nations Cup and only scores 1 goal? It doesn't make any logical sense. So for me, I think the players are very right to criticize him, and the NFF, they were very right to let him go. He was not the one to take us forward based off what he was, based off the way he was playing. It will never suit Nigeria, and the result would have been different from what we have at the moment.
All right, the result will be different from what we have at the moment. Okay, and let's talk about Nigeria's home base. The Super Eagles have welcomed 5 new players to their training camp in Ikenne, bringing the total number of players to 26 ahead of the 2025 African Nations Championship CHAN. And the new arrivals include Anas Yusuf, the Nigerian Professional Football League top scorer, who bagged 18 goals last season for Nasarawa United. Other players who joined the camp are Musa Zayed, Aminu Adam, as well as Godwin Obanje and Kabiru Mohammed. The Super Eagles are preparing for the CHAN tournament, which kicks off on August 2nd, and features players from domestic leagues. And Coach Eric Charles' selections reflect his intent to assemble a balanced and competitive squad capable of making a strong impact. And the team has been training intensively with all 26 players participating in Tuesday's evening session. Of course, the players are showing intent. Nigeria is drawn in Group D alongside Congo, Sudan, and reigning champions Senegal, and their first match is scheduled for August 5 against Senegal. And of course, with friendly matches expected to be announced, the focus now shifts on to fitness, chemistry, and fine-tuning the game plan. Expectations are high that this one be Super Eagles side, led by Chel, could mount a serious challenge for the CHAN title. Is Eric Chel going to be judged by the performance of this CHAN team eventually? Because look at the short time he's having to prepare these guys.
Well, I mean, this team already qualified, so I don't think it's going to be judged because he actually didn't qualify them for this championship. We have Benga Gumodede and Fidelis Lechuku, who are actually the real coach of this particular CHAN Eagles. And Eric Shell is just going to be part of the team as the head of the coach, and help them add one or two tactical advantage to actually go into that particular championship. But of course, the bulk of the work is definitely going to be on the shoulders of Benga Gumodede and Fidelis Lechuku. So I don't think it's going to be judged. We've not won this championship before, so not winning it again this time around will not really be much of a problem. I mean, if we qualify to the World Cup, then of course it's really not going to be a big deal if we end up not winning this one. But of course, again, this is actually this tournament is actually a show of the strength of your league, how far your football is actually developed locally, and then I mean, these are the qualities that we have in our league. So going outside to actually play against South Africans and of course North Africa that actually have the bulk of their players playing, the bulk of their national team players that will eventually come to the Nations Cup itself, playing this particular championship, all obviously put us in a disadvantaged position. So definitely, I know it's going to be a very tough one for the CHAN Eagles. But the thing is, we want to actually see them give a good account of themselves. And then if they end up winning it, then it's going to be an additional feather to Eric Shell's cap. But yes, I just want to see these guys, do a good job, and hopefully see one or two of them being part of the Super Eagles team going into Morocco's championship in December. But whether it's going to be a problem for Eric Shell, I don't think this is going to be a problem for Eric Shell. We already have the team, and then just hope that they do just fine at the Afcon.
All right, and of course, Maiwa, with the little time he has, because they've not even talked about the friendlies they'll be playing prior to the championship. Their first game is on the 5th of August, and if my calendar is correct, that's less than a month away from their first game. Do you think he has enough time to prepare this team, and will he be assessed based on the performance of the team at the competition?
The thing is a manager for a reason, and if you have drawn up a list, you would have made your research before you drop that particular list. I mean, we've said constantly, it's not as if he's building the list from the ground up. I mean, if you look at the 35-man list, majority of those on that particular list have been part of the CHAN Eagles before, probably maybe one or two additions. And another important one is the top scorer of the NPFL, joining in, I mean, a proven goal scorer in the league, joining the ranks in that particular league. To be honest with you, in as much as I don't think it should be under any pressure in terms of preparation. I think locally on the African continent, the CHAN Eagles have been doing fairly well. So I don't think there's a lot of pressure in terms of the overall performance in the tournament. However, the big question is this, which is very, very critical and very close to my heart. If we have claimed that this is our Super Eagles team B, how many of these 35 players is going to be able to make it to our national team? I mean, it will just be a waste of time if we have about 35 players that are supposed to be our Super Eagles team B, that are supposed to be the standby replacement for the main Super Eagles, that majority of them will not make our list when we want to, play the World Cup qualifiers that is coming very soon. The thing is this, in the competition, look at the players that is good enough to make the national team and integrate them into the national team. That's the essence of Chel overseeing this particular team and looking to see if he can get one or two players that will be part of the Super Eagles. To be honest, I'm not particular about the result. I'm just particular about the pipeline to the Super Eagles. I don't want a situation whereby, if anything goes wrong, we'll be hearing later that you decided to play an injured Iwobi. That's the reason why you felt nobody will place Iwobi. That's the reason why you decided to play an injured Iwobi, for example, in that particular game.
All right, it is what it is, and of course, time to say hotel as far as the Chan Eagles is concerned. We're monitoring events from Ikene and all the way to the Chan event eventually, which starts on the 2nd of August next month. All right, let's talk about Victor Osimhen in the news. Former Napoli sporting chief Paolo Marino believes that Victor Osimhen's 75 million euros release clause is too high for Serie A clubs, and only foreign clubs may be able to meet the demand. And Marino expressed doubt about Galatasaray's intentions, suggesting that the Turkish club's pursuit of Osimhen might be a strategic move to eventually sell him to an Italian giant. And of course, Marino thinks that Osimhen's value is high due to his ability to shift the balance of a team from a non-winning to a winning side. Okay, yeah, we've heard about Galatasaray making intent, but with this coming out, does it show that it's looking like it's all a mirage or a PR stunt that Galatasaray is saying they want to go for him? Because if the club side is insisting on 75 million euros, I think the deal actually states that the clause says that if a club side in the Serie A is going to buy him, they will have to pay 75 million. Or if it's outside, I think it should be between 65 to 70 million. So, but if that's the case, Galatasaray, do you think they have that money to cough out to buy Victor Osimhen, or maybe they're getting some support somewhere?
Jerry, remember that I think it was the Galatasaray chief that once talked about the fans 35,000 capacity, saying that if they can actually pay €2 each, they should be able to afford Victor Osimhen 75 million valuation. But the big question here is that if you look at this particular scenario, will Victor Osimhen join Galatasaray? I think he's still trying to hold on. I don't think it's much of a problem for Galatasaray to meet the valuation if Victor Osimhen really wants to stay with Galatasaray. He's still very much open to a move outside Turkey. That's exactly why it seems like the deal with Galatasaray is not closed yet. If he has shown willingness to actually remain with Galatasaray, I think that deal would have been closed. And then I think it's also a very smart move for Napoli to actually peg Victor Osimhen's valuation at around 75 million for Italian club side, because no top club in its right sense want to lose their top talents to a rival in the same league. It's actually an insane thing to do. So I think that's a very smart one for them. And now Osimhen's options now lies outside Italy. But of course, if they are willing to actually pay that money, then of course it's going to happen. But will Galatasaray actually make the move? Yes, they can. If Victor Osimhen shows willingness to actually play in Turkey, I don't think he's shown that. He's just giving this sort of attitude. This these guys have been nice to me. I'm not in a hurry to actually leave you guys, but I'm not also in a hurry to actually pen a new contract or agree to actually stay here. That's exactly what he's showing. But his disposition so far, I think it's very clear that he wants to actually go to Italy, or he wants to actually go to England or any other part of the world. And now in England, the conversation about where his likely destination will be is the problem now. Originally, it was supposed to be Chelsea. Now Chelsea has signed, João Pedro to add to the number of attackers that they have. Buying Victor Osimhen at this point is also going to it doesn't make any sense. It's going to be surplus to requirement.
Brought in the
Delap. Yes, so it's going to be surplus to requirement, and it's going to tell on their wage bill. So it's not what they want to do at this point. So now we're looking at perhaps Liverpool. Liverpool is still trying to actually lock the deal. Napoli. I think earlier today the conversation was about if Darwin Núñez will move to Napoli, because it's between Napoli, it's between Darwin Núñez and Lookman now for Napoli. If they're able to sign the Bologna striker, then they will be going for Ademola Lookman. But if they decide to actually sign Darwin Núñez, then Napoli will not be able to sign Ademola Lookman. So it's a lot of options for them at this point. Now, if they're able to actually close the deal, then Liverpool's option for Osimhen will definitely be open again. But of course, time, they say waits for no one. Liverpool can also, it just happens overnight. Liverpool can wake up one morning and say, okay, we spotted a talent that's going to be a good fit, for us. So I think the best thing goes back to what we've been saying again. Osimhen should actually, at this point, look at his leverage. What do you have? do you really have the leverage to actually, command this big money at this point? Not about your talent at this point. You have a lot of controversy surrounding you. So the best thing for you to do at this point is actually take a wage cut and then move to one of these top clubs in England and then refresh your career. Of course, we were talking about Paul Pogba a couple of days ago. Paul Pogba at some point was signed for close to 90 million pounds for Manchester United. He was one of the biggest midfielders in Europe, right? But now he cannot not actually command that particular fee. He's playing for Monaco at this point. At some point, if you understand your position, you just have to. If you realize the position you are in, you just have to actually play by the rule of that particular position. Victor Osimhen is actually looking at his talent alone. At this point, your talent alone will not knock down that door you need. You need to actually make compromise to refresh your career and then get your stuff on the move again.
All right, now we're taking a look at the situation of Victor Osimhen. We heard that Galatasaray are making move, they're showing interest, but it's more or less from the comment coming from the director out there for Napoli. It means that it looks like it might be a PR stunt so as to hasten whoever is interested in getting his services.
Well, the thing is Ikechi Christopher, that's very correct. If Osimhen has shown full commitment that he wants to play for Galatasaray, I think Galatasaray would have closed the deal. Apart from Nesiri, who was bought for £20 million, Osimhen will be one of the costliest, player, the highest, the costliest player in the Turkish league. The highest is still Nesiri for 20 million. If the deal goes through, Osimhen will be the costliest transfer in the Turkish league. However, Osimhen is keeping his options open, and I will not blame him for keeping his option open. Remember, he's 27, he's going to be 27 later this year. And if you are signing another contract at 27, that contract takes you to your 31. How many top clubs, if you are not a Lewandowski, if you are not a Ronaldo, if you are not a Messi, how many top clubs we want to seek for your services at 31, 32? They are very few in between. They are very far in between. I think that's the reason why, he's holding on and is, waiting. I've said constantly, obviously, Napoli does not want Osimhen to go. They don't want to let him go for cheap. However, the relationship has broken down. Osimhen will never play for Napoli again if Conte remains the coach. And if you are selling a player that can hurt you to your rival, definitely you want to inflate the price. So that your rivals will know that they are parting away with money. What Osimhen needs to do is this. He needs to weigh his options. The options are not very good, except he wants to go to Saudi Arabia. If Saudi Arabia is not on the table, if he's looking at playing for top clubs in Europe, then he needs to consider some few things. One, a pay cut. That's number one. And in the pay cut, you put a clause in your contract that if you deliver some certain number of goals, you get to recoup some money back. That's number one. Number two, he should consider also, buying out himself. I think there were reports about Goicores parting away with some money to be able to make his transfer.
Yeah.
I think Osimhen should consider that too. It will not if a top team in outside Italian Serie A wants to pay maybe 60 million, and Osimhen costs out the remaining 10, 15 million. Yes, it might be a whole lot, but that would be an avenue for him to be able to jumpstart his career at the moment. As it is now, the transfer window is closing, and he needs to make a decision. And the contract he signs now, might be the last major contract he will sign for any big club, because the next contract will be in his 30s, and no top club will want to sign you when you are 30.
Yeah, definitely a very precarious situation to find yourself as a footballer. Talking about Victor Osimhen. And away from that, let's talk about one man. It looks like everything is going to work out for the money if eventually he decides to make the move. It's not like he's in a precarious situation, but in a very sweet position. Al Hilal CEO, talking about Esteve Calzada, has confirmed that Saudi Arabia has held talks with Vinicius Jr. over a move to the Middle East. The Real Madrid superstar is widely expected to sign a contract extension with Los Blancos this summer. Vinicius' current deal expires in 2027, and already last summer there were talks of a new contract for the 24-year-old. Real Madrid are keen to extend this deal, but Vinicius delayed talks while reportedly holding talks with Saudi Arabia over a potential move, with figures such as 1 billion. That's 1 billion euros contract, and a 300 to 400 million euro fee being thrown around. Yet in March, Vinicius similarly agreed to a deal to extend his Real Madrid deal. That is despite leaks from his own camp that the deal is not done. Calzada went on to confirm that the CEO of the league has held negotiations with some teams, and even in the contract we hear that he's going to be given a super luxury apartment with a swimming pool, mini football field, and helicopter landing place. Of course, it's a juicy package, and something very, very interesting. Maiwa, definitely Vinicius Jr. is still in his prime, and I will understand why all of this has been offered to lure him to the Saudi League.
Honest with you, I think this is very tempting. If you look at it, he has won everything that needs to be won in Europe. He has won multiple Champions League, won the La Liga. There is nothing to win again. He has even conquered Spain. He has, conquered every challenge in Spain. So, I mean, if he wants to go and take the money, this is the right time to take the money. But however, he's 24. He still has a whole lot to achieve. How many Brazilians are playing the Saudi League that makes it to the national team? I think majority of these guys, they pride themselves in playing for their national team, and it's an honor for them to always be part of the national team. And also at 24, he still has a whole lot. If he's not doing well, Real Madrid will not be talking about offering him a contract when his current contract has not expired. However, there are two things to that. What is the risk associated? If you extend his contract, you are giving another 5 years contract. What if the relationship goes so well? What if Alonso, it doesn't work out with Alonso? Alonso keeps delivering, and Vinicius Jr. is not part of his plan. What happens to Vinicius Jr.? What happens to Real Madrid? I think they need to wait together, but I don't see Vinicius Jr. Wanting to go to Saudi Arabia. I think he will want to delay such that Real Madrid will offer him more money. I think the reason why he has not put pen to paper is just to force the negotiation with Madrid to get more money out of Madrid because of the juicy offer that is coming from Saudi Arabia. But I will not be surprised if the Saudis are able to tempt him enough to join them in the Saudi League.
All right, definitely will not be surprised if they are able to tempt him enough to go to the Saudi League to make an interesting race to see him play in the Saudi League. But let's talk about the FIFA Club World Cup. Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca has expressed confidence in his team's ability to face either Real Madrid or Paris Saint-Germain at the 2025 Club World Cup final. Chelsea secured their spot in the final with a 2-0 win over Fluminense, courtesy of a brace from João Pedro. Maresca was diplomatic when asked about his preference for the final opponent. But, of course, you can't take it away from this Chelsea side, making it away to the final. And João Pedro, come on, what a goal. The first goal was purely out of the shelf, It was not just any kind of goal. It was from nowhere. It's what my fellow media guys would say, this is a television goal. This is the goal for the adverts, It was phenomenal. I had to rewatch that goal like 3 times. How did he just do that? And think this might be a bargain signing for Chelsea. And I don't know how far he will go, but he looks already interesting, except hopefully injuries doesn't hamper him.
Absolutely. He's shown the quality that he's got. The second goal was, out of this world. I saw the goal and I was like, okay, yes, someone just arrived. And the interesting thing about that particular game yesterday was when, what's his name, Jackson came into the game, 88th minute, he got a chance and he squandered it. And then it was very, very clear.
Chelsea fans just overruled him instantly.
And then it became, the law of contrast actually came on to play. Before, if you walk into the room, you are the most, handsome man. And then you're very handsome. And then there's someone who is extremely handsome walking into the room. You look very ugly. So at some point in that game, Jackson became even worse than he was.
I hope there's not going to be beef in the dressing room eventually.
Well,
he was the man of the moment yesterday.
Well, at this point, the truth is, it's so bad for Jackson that he's not even just going to be sitting on the bench. He's now the third in the pecking order. Delap is ahead of him because Delap came because of his unwillingness or his inability to actually deliver. Now he has to actually battle Delap, who has not even found his own scoring booth, and now Joao Pedro, who came and then registered with 2 good goals in his very first
Taking
game.
it to the final.
Yes, in a game that is so crucial for Chelsea. This trophy is a trophy. The entire Chelsea faithful will be looking up to let's even get this for a start. Let this be the beginning of us returning. Let this be the beginning of us returning to the big stage, and then Joao Pedro actually did it in that particular semi-final game. Of course, you remember they played a Brazilian side earlier on the group stage where they actually were whipped against Flamengo. And now they played Fluminense. They did after beating Palmeiras. Trust me, right? Jackson is in trouble, and it's a good one for Joao Pedro.
All right, Maiwa, is it like Chelsea is now back in the big stage? Joao Pedro making a statement in that one.
Well, the Yorubas will say, Omonola and Ransina, meaning you fight fire with fire. Joao Pedro played for Fluminense before moving to Brighton, before making his way to Chelsea. And look at him now. He was the one that buried Fluminense yesterday. For Nicolas Jackson, I think that would be the end for him. If I were Nicolas Jackson, before the end of this transfer window, I'll probably hand in a transfer request and probably seek, playing time in another club. I don't think he will be able to play for Chelsea again. You will see as the season starts, he will probably not be listed in most games because he has people ahead of him. There's an Nkunku who is also coming back too. Nkunku is even having more footing than Nicolas Jackson. And when Mikel said something about Nicolas Jackson the other time, he was busy insulting Mikel. Now we are seeing the result. But in any case, that is Nicolas Jackson's cup of tea. For Chelsea, I think they are proving once again that they are capable of doing something spectacular. Yes, a lot of people might say the other 2 teams, a Real Madrid and a PSG, might be slightly ahead of them in terms of the overall performance that they've put in so far and the overall finesse that they've been able to display so far. But I think the way Enzo Maresca has been gradually building this team, I would not be surprised if they are a top contender for the EPL next season. He has been rebuilding the team, and if you look at how they've been improving from, yes, a lot of people might say, there's still the goalkeeping situation needs to be sorted out. Sometimes you don't know what Sanchez is thinking. He might be good today, he might be bad tomorrow. But the way Maresca has been able to build the team gradually, I think the finishing touches are there already, and he just needs to tweak 1 or 2 things. And we have a big team on our hand. It's going to be an interesting final. I'm hoping to see how they will file out against either PSG or Madrid. But I will not be surprised if Chelsea is able to pull out the result in the final, because Enzo Maresca is building something. And if he can be consistent, if the team can be consistent, then the EPL next season will be very, very interesting to watch with what is building at the moment.
All right, very interesting to watch with what is building at the moment. Okay, let's talk about the game tonight. Kylian Mbappe's Real Madrid taking on PSG, and of course his move to Real Madrid from PSG has raised expectations, but the French forward insists that winning 2 titles this season isn't a failure. However, Mbappe acknowledges that the season isn't over yet, with the Club World Cup looming large. The tournament, while debated among football fans, holds great significance for Real Madrid, especially with their semi-final match against Paris Saint-Germain tonight. And the match against his former club is an opportunity for Mbappe to make a statement and prove himself. Real Madrid and PSG both have a lot to prove in this tournament, and the stakes are high. Mbappe's performance will be crucial in determining the outcome of the match. A win against PSG would be a strong statement from Real Madrid, while a loss could make Mbappe's integration into the team seem like a work in progress. The match is said to be a thrilling encounter, with both teams looking to make an impact in the Club World Cup. Where would the pendulum swing? PSG up against Real Madrid. There's the issue with no love lost between Mbappe and PSG, and the fact that Xabi Alonso is playing his first big one this time around. One Spanish young rookie manager against an experienced Luis Enrique, and the side who just won the Champions League. They are the current champions of the UEFA Champions League, and it's going to be a very, very interesting one for Real Madrid as well. Where would the pendulum swing, Maiwa?
It's not very interesting. But if you look at how the two teams have played so far, I think the momentum favors PSG. Since the winning of the Champions League, they've been on fire. And a particular Ousmane Dembele that was surplus to requirements in Barcelona is now the most important person for PSG. I mean, Enrique has been able to turn the team around, and he's been able to build that team with no special, star in quotes now. They are supposed top man left, and the season he left, that was when they won everything. Won treble, won the Champions League, and they're already in the semi-final of the Champions League. Enrique does not have anything to prove. It is only Alonso that has a whole lot to prove. A whole lot of people feel the job is bigger than him, and I will not, blame them because he has less experience. He's not. Yes, he was able to win the league in Germany, but second season was disastrous for him. So a lot of people, the jury is still out on him in terms of the way we'll be able to handle the Real Madrid side and able to handle the ego in the dressing room. But he's coming up against a master tactician, somebody who has outplayed, outmaneuvered top coaches in the Champions League, and he has even done it in the Club World Cup. It's going to be interesting, but for me, I think the pendulum swings more to the side of PSG because they have a whole lot of experience, and their coach has a way of winning tough games. It's going to be a very tough game, but I'm tipping PSG to probably take the day at the end of the day.
All right, even PSG coming from Mayowa. Are you on the side of PSG or you're Hala Madrid?
This game is going to be a very interesting game. But then my head is saying PSG, my heart is saying Madrid. Now this is why. Yes, this is why. Madrid have shown that in crucial games like this, they just find a way to actually get past it. It's all about character for them. It's all about individual performance. It's all about individual brilliance. If PSG turn up, or if Madrid rather turn up against this PSG side, the way Bayern Munich turned up against PSG, Madrid is going to win. Madrid has players that can actually decide games. Madrid has players that can actually bury games. Madrid have players that are experienced and exposed at this stage. One of the biggest problems for Bayern Munich in that particular game was their inability to finish up games. They had the opportunity to actually win that game, but on many occasions they actually did struggle, and it was really, really, really bad. Now, if Real Madrid turn up against PSG, in that particular way, come all out against them, most likely win it. But again, it's going to be one in the middle of the park. How much of a stay, how much of a sway can the Madrid midfielders hold in that particular game against the Vitinhas, the Jao and of course the ever amazing Ruiz of this world. Don't forget, PSG is also losing one of their key defenders in Pacho in that particular game. So it's going to be quite interesting. But if Madrid can actually come all out and create chances like Bayern Munich in that particular game, I see them winning that particular game, against Paris Saint-Germain. But of course, on the balance of play, Paris Saint-Germain is a better team in this particular game, going into this game. And then Real Madrid have players that are can actually decide game individually more than PSG. So it's all about who's going to actually take it. It's all about who wants it most. And I think that's why I said my head is saying Paris Saint-Germain, but my heart is saying Madrid.
All right, and of course, it's going to be a very difficult match to predict. Talking about PSG up against Real Madrid, but it promises to be exciting. Two very attack-minded sides, and of course, two sides with lots of quality down from the goalkeeping position. And of course, Thibaut Courtois, Donnarumma, and of course, in the defense, it's also packed for Real Madrid. And of course, the star boys, talking about Dembele, Mbappe on the other side, there's Louis, there's Vinicius Jr., and of course, what more can you ask for? There's Tchouaméni, there's Jude Bellingham, and of course, what more can you ask for from a game? This is what the Club World Cup is meant for, and this is what the organizers want to see, and eventually, we are seeing such in the semi-final, more like a final before the final. So, anyway, about some side attractions, Bayern Munich star Jamal Musiala has spoken about the horrific injury he suffered during the Club World Cup quarter-final match against PSG. And of course, Musiala collided with PSG goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma and underwent surgery for a fractured left fibula and ankle injury. And despite the severity of the injury, Musiala has taken to social media to absolve Donnarumma of blame. Musiala's comments come after some Bayern officials, including sporting director Max Eberl and goalkeeper Manuel Neuer, criticized Donnarumma for the tackle. However, Musiala insists that such incidents can happen in the heat of the moment and has chosen not to apportion blame. And of course, the German international is expected to be out for several months and has begun his rehabilitation. Okay, let's take a listen from Jamal Musiala.
Hello everyone. I wanted to say thank you for all the love and support I got from all of you. It really means a lot to me. It's nice to see how the football world comes together in a time like this, and I really appreciate it. The surgery went really well. I'm in good care, and I wanted to say there's no one to blame for this. I think situations like this happen, and now I'm just going to use the next period of time just to build up my strength and positivity again. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again.
From Jamal Musiala, we just have to wrap it up. Mayowa.
Well, I think there's no point apportioning blame. Injuries happen in football. It's just unfortunate that it happened. I think it's a good one that Musiala is saying it, even though Donnarumma felt bad. And I think it's good that he's speaking out for Donnarumma. I think it's just a mistake. I wish him, quick recovery. And I hope, FIFA and those organizing football, they find a way to reduce their schedules. It tells a whole lot of the players.
All right, come on, Chukwu, we might not be seeing him in the next 6 months. That's almost a full season.
But it's very good he came out because Bayern Munich fans came all hard on Donnarumma, and of course that particular incident, there was actually no need for Musiala to actually go for that ball. It was very close. It was all Donnarumma's ball. But of course, footballers will always want to do something and for the badge. It's unfortunate that happened.
Goal getter.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that happened, and I like the fact he came out, to say, no one wants to be blamed for this, and it's so good that I just hope he comes fully foot back and became.
He's still young.
Yes, come back to be the same player. I mean, very very amazing player he is. So it's so good.
I wish he played for the Super Eagles. Yeah, that kind of talent for the Super Eagles. Imagine Musiala, Bukayo Saka in this present Super Eagles. It would have been something else. All right, that's how we wrap it up on the show. Our locker room, big thanks to Mayowa and Ike Chukwu for being awesome on the show this lovely day. And of course, big thanks to the guys behind the scene, talking about the likes of Victor, not leaving out Alex, Jeremiah, and of course Hassan, who was wonderful on the show. And of course, up next is Political Lens with Chioma Innocent. My name is Jerry Arpelio, saying thanks for being a part of the show. Until we meet again, stay safe, and if not 20 at all, do it the sports way.